What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another hunting boot camp. So today I am going over calling tips for beginners. No specific type calling instructions, nothing like that. It's just really basic tips for those just starting out or who aren't quite confident in their calling abilities yet. So let's get to it. So the first tip is, when you're picking out your call, make sure you find one that works for you. And what I mean by that is, make sure you find one that you can blow. Just because your buddy or this guy you see on TV can blow this specific call doesn't mean that you're going to be able to. Not everyone can blow the exact same call the exact same way. Find one that works for you, that you can make the basic notes on, and that you can learn on. Luckily, a lot of the sporting goods stores, Cabela's, Scheels, Bass Pro Shops, they'll let you take them out of the box and try them there in the store, so you can have a little better idea and you're not just picking them out blindly. So find a call that works for you. So the second tip is, go cheap right off the bat. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get a good duck or goose call. And you can still buy cheap years after hunting. That's what I do. The most expensive call I have is this one. It's $35 and I just bought it last year. All these other ones are $30 to $15 a piece. So you don't need to spend a lot of money to get good calls. Just goes back, find one that works for you, that you can learn on, and go from there. If you want to spend more money, that's your prerogative. You definitely can. But just starting out, you might not know if this is for you, so you don't want to put a lot of money towards it. So I would recommend going cheap first and then upgrading down the line once you kind of get your calls figured out and decide that duck or goose hunting is for you. So now that you got your call picked out, you need to find some resources where you can learn how to call, learn specific calls and stuff. What are the resources you go to? Which brings me to the third tip: stay away from competition calling when you're learning. A actual bird wouldn't place in a competition these days. A duck, goose, it don't matter. Typically competition calling is going to be more aggressive, it's going to be a lot louder, and more importantly, it's going to be unrealistic. Now that's not to say those guys in the competition callings aren't great hunters. I'm sure most of them are, but what the human judges and what the avian judges actually want are completely different. So stay away from competition calling. There's a lot of other resources out there to find what the birds actually sound like. You can go on YouTube and find a specific calling instructions. There's DVDs out there. There's other websites that are dedicated just to calling. Probably the best resource I could recommend is simply going out to the marsh early before shooting light or before hunting even starts. Go out to your local park, wherever there's ducks and geese around, and just sit there and listen to how they communicate with each other. And it might change a little bit throughout the time of the year or whatever, but just listen and then try to imitate that, because that's what the birds are talking about. Especially if you're out in the marsh early before like shooting light and you can hear the ducks or the geese, listen to how they're talking to each other, and that'll kind of dictate how they want to talk to each other throughout the day. And if you can mimic that, then you're probably going to have a better chance at getting birds into your spread. So tip number 3, when you're learning how to call, stay away from the competition calling. There's plenty of other resources out there. So the fourth tip is, know your judges. I kind of just alluded to this, but know your judges. You're not trying to impress people, you're trying to impress birds. Okay? When you're going out duck hunting, when you're going out goose hunting, you're calling birds in, you're calling geese in, you're not calling people in. Okay? So what I mean by that is, let the birds tell you what they want to hear. They're going to tell you if they think your calling's good or bad. People are going to tell you that your calling's probably bad. More times than not, everyone thinks they're a critic and they're going to criticize your calls. Now, I'm not saying don't be open to criticism, but everyone who critiques your calls doesn't know as much as they think they do. So let the birds be your judge. Ignore the critics, but also be open to criticism. They are two different things, but ultimately the birds are going to tell you what they want to hear. So the next tip is, call to the birds. What I mean by that is, have a conversation with them. And specifically, like a great example is if you got like a single or a pair of geese or ducks coming in, and one of them's quacking or honking. They honk, you honk. They honk, you honk. Just back and forth, kind of like a call ping pongs kind of deal. Call to them, not at them. Don't just like keep calling over them. You're trying to have a conversation with them. And I see a lot of people call at the birds, and I've been guilty of it as well. Sometimes you get too excited, especially in them big flocks. But you call to the bird, you have a conversation with them, they're going to be more likely to come into your spread. So the sixth tip is know when to call. As a general rule of thumb, call on the corners, call at their butts. When they're coming in, when they're cupped up, when they're right above you, shut up. That's just really general, really basic, and you've got to learn some more situations about knowing when and when not to call. It's going to take just being out in the marsh, just a lot of experience, but that's really general. Calling at the corners refers to when they're circling around, when they're going around, keep calling, call them so they come back, focus back on your spread. Calling at their butts, they might be flying away, call them back, do your comeback call, do whatever, try to get them back, turn back towards you. When they're coming in, when they're cupped up especially, shut up. When they're right above you, you don't want to call either, because they can pick out your hide, especially late season birds, and they can fly away, they'll flare off. So those are just really basic rules of thumb, and there's probably some other ones I'm missing, but those are just some really basic rules about when to call. You'll learn more with experience, but know when to call. The next tip is keep it simple. You gotta crawl before you can walk, you gotta walk before you can run. So you got your calls, you got your duck call, you got your goose call. Keep it simple, learn the basics first before you can get into like the more complex calls, like the feeder call or the lay down call, anything like that. Just start out with your basic quack or your basic honk and go on from there. Build a good foundation, perfect your quack, perfect your honk, and then you can move on to the whistles and the chuckles and the clucks and moans and all that. So build a good foundation, keep it simple, perfect those basic calls, and then build up from there. So the final tip, and this is the most important tip, practice makes perfect. Just keep practicing. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, if you're at work, if you're at school, wherever you're at. Just grab that call, just have it on you, and just keep practicing. Practice your calls, practice different calls, learn some new calls, whatever. Just keep practicing, get better, and hopefully it'll lead to more birds in the fall. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave me a thumbs up. Always helps me out. Drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts were. Guys, do you agree with these? Do you have anything else to add? If you do, let me know if I missed anything. Put it down below so we can help out the beginning duck hunters, goose hunters, and hopefully get them some more birds this fall. Subscribe if you haven't already so you can stay up to date with the latest hunting boot camps. These come out every Monday in the off season, as well as more fishing exploits, hunting exploits in the fall, winter, and cooking videos. Got some turkey I got to cook up, got some fish got to cook up, so we've got more cooking videos coming out as well. If any of that is up your alley, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you out there, guys. See ya.